December 25th arrived with the familiar calm that often masks uncertainty inside baseball front offices. And for the Seattle Mariners, Christmas morning did not bring clarity so much as it reinforced the direction the organization appears quietly committed to taking into 2026. While fans unwrapped gifts and debated holiday movies, the Mariners' offseason blueprint continued to reveal itself, not through blockbuster signings, but through subtle roster decisions that signal both confidence and risk. At the center of that evolving picture is the signing of veteran right-handed bat Rob Refsnyder, a move that on the surface appears modest, but in practice may ripple across the roster far more than its one-year $6.25 million price tag suggests. The Mariners insist the deal is about depth, flexibility, and matchup advantages. But as with many of Seattle's recent moves, it also raises a larger question. What exactly is the long-term plan, and how much of it depends on internal bets paying off? Refsnyder arrives in Seattle with a reputation that precedes him, a strong clubhouse presence, a respected professional, and a hitter who has carved out a niche as a left-handed pitching specialist. Over the last 2 seasons in Boston, he posted a 131 ops plus across limited but impactful opportunities, demonstrating an ability to punish lefties while accepting a reduced role. In theory, that profile fits neatly into a Mariners lineup that has struggled historically with platoon efficiency. Yet theory and reality have often diverged at T-Mobile Park. Right-handed hitters have consistently found the Mariners' home stadium to be unforgiving, and Reshape's own career numbers in Seattle, while admittedly limited, offer little reassurance. Across 23 career plate appearances at the venue, he owns a .176 batting average and a sub-600 OPS. It is not a meaningful sample, but it is emblematic of the challenge Seattle continues to face when projecting success from role players who thrived elsewhere. Still, the Mariners are not paying Refsnyder to be an everyday starter. Internally, expectations appear to hover around 200 to 250 plate appearances, primarily against left-handed starters and in late-game matchup scenarios. The organization views him as a tactical weapon, someone manager Dan Wilson can deploy strategically rather than rely on nightly. What complicates the picture is how crowded the roster already is. Seattle enters 2026 with an outfield logjam that includes Dominic Canzone, Victor Robles, Luke Raley, and now Refsnyder, with Josh Naylor also capable of sliding into corner outfield duty if needed. While positional flexibility is often touted as a strength, it can just as easily become a liability when too many players require playing time without a clear hierarchy. The Refsnyder signing subtly increases pressure on the Mariners to make a trade. While no deal appears imminent, rival executives have noted that Seattle's surplus of outfield-capable bats makes at least one move likely before opening day. Canzone in particular has emerged as a name to watch, not because the Mariners are eager to move him, but because other clubs continue to view him as a controllable, left-handed hitter with upside. Luke Raley's situation is even murkier. Injuries disrupted his 2025 campaign, and while his versatility once made him a valuable chess piece, the arrival of Naylor eliminated his path to first base reps. With Refsnyder now in the mix and Robles continuing to demand opportunities, Raley's margin for error in 2026 may be thinner than ever. The Mariners have not said publicly that a trade is coming, but their roster construction increasingly suggests that something has to give. Nowhere is the organization's internal confidence more evident or more controversial than at second base. According to industry reporting, including recent commentary from Ken Rosenthal, the Mariners are preparing to hand the position largely to Cole Young. Not in a platoon, not as a trial, but as a genuine opportunity to seize the role. Within the organization, belief in Young remains strong. A rival executive described him as a model darling, a term often reserved for players whose underlying metrics inspire confidence even when surface-level production fluctuates. The Mariners' front office, long known for leaning into projection models and developmental timelines, appears ready to live with growing pains if it means breaking what many fans have come to view as a curse at second base. The logic is not without merit. Seattle's attempts to solve the position externally have yielded mixed results at best. Veteran stopgaps have struggled to provide consistency, and recent imports often arrive with limitations that became more pronounced under everyday expectations. Internally, the belief seems to be that if the cycle is ever going to end, it will have to end with someone developed in-house. Young's 2025 season, however, was not without warning signs. His first half showcased a polished approach and contact skills that made him a top prospect, but the second half exposed vulnerabilities as opposing pitchers adjusted. His batting average dipped significantly, and the league began to challenge him more aggressively. The Mariners are aware of this. What they appear to be betting on is Young's ability to adapt. What remains unclear is how patient they are willing to be. Behind Young, Seattle's contingency plans are largely internal. Ryan Bliss, Leo Rivas, and Michael Arroyo all exist as potential alternatives, each with strengths and limitations. Bliss offers energy and speed, but remains unproven over extended stretches. Rivas brings plate discipline and defensive reliability, though his offensive ceiling is modest. Arroyo's bat has carried him through the minors, but translating that success to major league pitching is never guaranteed. None of these names would calm a fan base eager for a definitive upgrade, but they represent the safety net the Mariners appear comfortable deploying if Young falters. That comfort level is what has made the ongoing speculation around Brendan Donovan so perplexing. For months, Donovan has been linked to Seattle as a potential target, a versatile high-contact hitter capable of stabilizing multiple positions. Yet if the Mariners truly intend to give Young the lion's share of second base innings, Donovan's fit becomes increasingly awkward. Third base remains unsettled, with Ben Williamson projected to receive significant runway. Like Young, Williamson represents an internal bet, one rooted in defensive reliability and developmental optimism rather than proven offensive production. The idea of committing simultaneously to Young at second and Williamson at third has unsettled some observers, who argue that a team on the cusp of contention cannot afford to gamble at both positions. The Mariners appear undeterred. Internally, the belief seems to be that the offense as a whole has taken a meaningful step forward, reducing the pressure on any one position to carry the lineup. Improvements credited to the revamped hitting infrastructure, including the influence of Edgar Martinez and Kevin Seitzer, have emboldened the front office to trust development over acquisition. That confidence was reflected in the team's offensive performance throughout 2025, when Seattle's lineup ranked among the league's better units for extended stretches, compensating for a pitching staff that occasionally showed cracks. Still, betting on internal growth is one thing, relying on it across multiple positions simultaneously is another. As the roster currently stands, the Mariners are walking a tightrope. The margin between a cohesive, flexible roster and an overcrowded, misaligned one is slim. Every addition amplifies the consequences of inaction elsewhere. The bullpen, meanwhile, continues to inspire cautious optimism. Andres Munoz remains the unquestioned anchor at the back end, a reliever whose dominance has become foundational to Seattle's late-game identity. Despite concerns about velocity fluctuations, the organization remains confident in his ability to adjust, emphasizing command and pitch sequencing over raw power. Behind him, Jose Ferrer has quietly emerged as a name to monitor. The Mariners believe Ferrer's raw stuff, particularly his slider, could translate into a high-leverage role with refinement. Comparisons to Matt Brash have surfaced internally, not as a guarantee but as a developmental aspiration. If Ferrer takes the anticipated step forward, Seattle's bullpen depth could once again become a competitive advantage. If not, the burden on Munoz intensifies. Manager Dan Wilson enters 2026 under a different kind of scrutiny. While his steady hand and lineup consistency earned praise, questions linger about his late-game decision-making. Moments from the postseason, particularly bullpen usage, remain fresh in the minds of fans and analysts alike. The Mariners believe continuity will yield growth. Critics argue that learning curves are costly at this level. Wilson's second full season may define whether he is viewed as a stabilizer or a liability. As Christmas fades into the off-season grind, the Mariners find themselves at a familiar crossroads. They are not rebuilding. They are not all in. They are something in between, a team confident enough to trust its system, yet cautious enough to avoid overcommitting. Whether that balance leads to a breakthrough or another near miss will depend on whether internal bets like Cole Young pay off and whether the roster's unresolved questions are answered before they become problems. For now, Seattle waits, and so does everyone else.